Hey guys, it's Bridgette with San Diego Seed Company, and I am back with the fourth and final video in our, sorry, what's the name again?
I'm keeping that part in, by the way. Ultimate Growers Guide.
In our Ultimate Growers Guide, all the information that you need to know, all the information I've learned in over a decade of growing my own food, so that you can be as successful as possible growing produce and food for your family or community. So the last video is an overarching video which pertains to everything we've talked about, but really it's a point that I want to drive home. It's understanding the cultural practices around growing your specific variety or type of produce. Now, what does that mean? What does cultural practices mean? Well, basically, it's a term that we use in agriculture referring to how you grow a particular crop. So I'm pointing to this cabbage because the joke we have on our farm is you don't grow a cabbage like you grow a tomato. And it's a very simple saying, but it is so true. If you were to try to take the same methods that you use to grow a tomato and apply them to a cabbage, you're going to be sorely disappointed. A cabbage needs totally different planting requirements, watering, sunlight, everything than a tomato. And so part of the growing journey as a gardener and as a farmer is the time it takes for you to gather all of your knowledge. You know, as a grower, you need to be an entomologist. You need to know about soil. You need to be a weather person. You need to know so much. And part of what you need to know is how to grow a particular crop and what it likes. I don't expect you guys to memorize this information. It's already out there. There are tons of fabulous, really good resources, our seed company included, where we tell you exactly how to grow a particular type of crop and what it likes. Additionally, there's really great information through different educational platforms, whether it's a university or one particular website that I really love is the UC, so that's the University of California Integrated Pest Management website, which tells you how to deal with pests. But what I love about it is it tells you exactly the cultural practices that you need for a particular crop. So I'm going to give those to you in a nutshell so you know what I'm talking about. So for cabbage, if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I want to grow cabbage, I love cabbage, I want to be a cabbage farmer, these are the things I would tell them. Well, cabbage likes to grow in the cool season in zone 9 and 10. And so that would be planted in the fall and left to overwinter. They like cool temperatures, ample moisture. So right away, that means you can't plant them in the summertime, or they're not going to be very happy, or they're going to struggle a lot. They also like to be planted with plenty of space. If you put your cabbages too close together, you won't get a nice big head like we see here. They also are susceptible to certain insects. So they can be really mowed down by cabbage loopers and leaf-eating caterpillars. And so when I plant these tiny little babies, I need to either cover them with row cover to protect them or spray BT to ensure that they grow big enough that they are past the point of being completely demolished by those insects. Another important cultural practice or a part of knowing your crop intimately is knowing when to harvest it. I want to show you guys this one because look, it's already cracking, and it's cracking because it needs to be harvested. Really, it needed to be harvested. I should have harvested it probably 3 weeks ago. Got very busy. I've been drowning in produce, and so I've left it out here, and it's starting to crack because the central stalk inside of this plant is trying to come out and grow. Now, if I was growing this for seed, that would be fabulous, but this is just a variety trial, and I want to eat this and consume this, so I want to eat this before it gets too thick and fibrous in the middle, so this needs to get harvested. Well, how do I harvest it? Do I pull off leaf by leaf on the cabbage and eat it that way? No, I want to take a sharp knife, and I want to cut it right here at the base and take it inside, put it in my fridge, and it'll keep for weeks before I decide to use it in a soup or a salad or anything like that. Okay, so I talked about cabbage, right? And the cultural practices around how you grow that really well. Let's look at tomatoes, for example. So tomatoes, totally different. Again, if I tried to grow cabbage like I do tomatoes, they're not gonna thrive. Now this just popped up literally on the drip line. This is a tomato that fell this summer and the seeds fell into the soil and now it's growing. And so This is not going to thrive at this point in the year because the sunlight is too low in the horizon, the days are too short, and we're too cold. You can see it's growing, it's got flowers, but if the night's set below 50 degrees, it's not really going to actually, these blooms will fall off and I won't actually get tomatoes, right? So just for the sake of the video, let's pretend it's summertime and let's talk real quick about cultural practices of tomatoes. So tomato seeds typically are started in little starter pots and transplanted out. You can direct sow them, not as easy, but let's pretend that I started this in a little transplant pot and I put it into the garden and I've got it planted here. And you can see that I've got another tomato here. I've got two of them. This is way too close. These tomatoes are not adequate spacing, so this one has to go so this one can thrive. Additionally, a very important cultural practice of tomatoes is taking off the suckers. You're gonna see tons and tons of references to this on our videos and our blogs, on our Facebook page, everywhere, because it's a really important process. Basically what it means is you have this main stem here, and then you have this lateral shoot, and then you have right in the armpit. Whenever you're looking for a sucker, just look for the armpit of the plant. Here it is. And the reason why it's called a sucker is because let's follow the nutrients in the plant. So it starts in the soil, it comes up, and it goes to this lateral shoot, and the plant photosynthesizes and gathers more energy. And then it comes up, and here's a sucker. This sucker is essentially gonna grow into be a whole new tomato plant. And we want the energy to get focused into these flowers and these tomatoes. So this is basically sidelining the energy from where we really want it to go. So we pull it off. There's the sucker. And we do that for the whole plant. So we go through, you can see how big this is. Here's a lateral shoot, here's a sucker. It's almost as big as the plant. So you go through and you take these off. And we go all the way up until we get to the point where, so another great cultural practice is we actually take off any side shoots that are really close to the ground, especially if you live in a hot, humid area. That's because they're more likely to carry foliar diseases up to the top of the plant because they're actually touching the ground. So I've pulled all of these off, so we're nice and neat. At this point, I would probably stake it so that's not so wobbly. Now let's follow the energy. It comes up, right? It goes into this lateral shoot, which is going to photosynthesize, keeps coming up. I'm gonna take this sucker off too. And where is the first place that it really gets concentrated? In the flowers, which is where you want it. You wanna tell the tomato plant, hey, don't grow a lot of foliage, grow me tomatoes. That's why I'm growing you. I want delicious, yummy tomatoes for my salad, for my BLT. So you're telling the plant what to do. Again, this is a cultural practice on how you grow tomatoes really well. You know, a lot of cultural practices are actually commercial practices as well. These are tips and tricks that commercial growers use to really maximize yields. And those methods are not exclusive to commercial growers. You can use them in your backyard or on your small scale farm to maximize yield as much as possible. So that's just some short information on how to grow tomatoes. Again, I don't expect you guys to remember all of this information. It takes a lifetime to learn it, but there's tons of great resources out there that will tell you how to grow a tomato plant, how to grow a cabbage plant. And again, I want you to remember that gardening and farming is a journey. It is not a destination. And for each crop, you get to learn their particular characteristics, and they are just characters in the theater of life. And you will learn them intimately. You will become friends with them. You will understand what they want. I can honestly go out into my garden and my plants tell me what they need, because after years and years of growing them, I've learned their signals. And you can too, I promise you. But I hope that all of these videos in our 4-part series will help you avoid some of the common mistakes that people make and just help you become a better gardener in general.